Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with me today. If you will, again, I will ask you, as I try to do every morning, and to like, share, comment on the post. And then if you want to follow along, we'll be in the book of Ruth, chapter 3, looking at the first verse. Naomi is speaking here to Ruth, and says, Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Naomi brings up the, I'm sure, delicate conversation that Ruth needs a home, which is what the word rest means here. The word rest is a Hebrew word that means resting place, or a place of security, or a home, a permanent home, a place to stay. And Ruth, in that day, still difficult in many situations for a widow, for a single lady in this situation. Far more difficult, I believe, in biblical days. Ruth has no children. Her husband had passed away soon after they were married. She was in a society that was very man-oriented, very male-oriented, and women. The few jobs that were available for women were very demeaning, very low-paying jobs, and because of that, she would have been poor and would have been poor her whole life. There was not a great deal of hope on her own for getting out of this situation. She would have been in what we would call today poverty, and she would have just been having to scrounge around from crumb to crumb, trying to survive. Certainly probably went hungry a lot, and by not having any children, she didn't have, again, anyone to turn to. Not only that, she was a foreigner. She was a foreigner living in a strange land. Her husband being dead, and so her future, if you want to call it that, was nothing. Her life had was in a total disarray. It was a disaster all around us. She needed a home. She needed provision. She needed protection to keep her from being taken advantage of. Again, in this male-dominated society, she needed somebody to care for her. And as so many things in the book of Ruth are, this is a perfect picture of where I was and where you were before we met Jesus. We had no hope. We had nothing we could turn to. There was no light in the tunnel. There wasn't even a train coming. There was no light in the tunnel. We needed this Redeemer that we've talked about, this kinsman redeemer. We needed somebody who would come along and lift us up in our state of total disarray, discouragement, defeat. We needed somebody who would come along and pick us up out of insecurity and put us in a place of security, a place of rest, as Naomi calls it. We sing that old hymn, a haven of rest. That's who Jesus is. That's what Ruth needed. That's what you needed when you were lost. You were like Ruth in this foreign land, living in a place of total disaster with nothing on your side. Ruth had nothing. She didn't have anything going for her. She had no cards to play on the table. She had nothing going in her favor. A woman in a male-dominated society, no husband, no children, nowhere to turn, unless someone came in and rescued her And what a beautiful picture of what Jesus Christ has done for the believer. If you're saved today, you look back, you remember. Don't forget, there was a time when you're just like Ruth. You had no hope. You had nowhere to turn. You didn't have any family. You didn't have anybody that could help you out. And then Jesus came along and rescued you and set you into a place of rest. Today, as you go out in this world, as you go out, and you're still traveling in a foreign world. You're still living in a world that is full of sin, full of immorality. But you and I, we are secure because of our kinsman redeemer. And we have a place, or as the song again says, a haven of rest. Think about that today. Have a good one. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.